lock it in. Down tight, we're twisting 2 to 3 times in the same spot before sliding our fingers down. Tight enough that my fingers are warming up. Hand that has no thread in it right now is going to grab the center and pull down underneath the jaws. The other hand pushes directly back to the jaw. Equal tension both sides. Bottom hand, for me, means thumb away from my body. So I pinch tight and I push my thumb away from my body. A little extra twist before I take it out. I got that bottom lock. This is what we just created together. So we're going to lock in right behind the eye of the hook. Generous lockdown point. Alright, once you lock in behind the eye of the hook, we're going to tie in this extended body. I measure the length of the hook times a half again. 1.5 times the length of the hook. When we lock these in, you want to lock it in directly behind the eye of the hook. So let me do it. You guys get a feel for it. So here we go. 1.5 there. I just switch hands and I'll pinch wrap straight down twice right behind the eye of the hook. Now I'm going to do at least a dozen wraps right there behind the eye. And go ahead and put a drop of cement right there. Alright, now we're going to lock down the body. Since I'm right-hand tire, when I tie I push the body away, so I'm going to compensate by pulling it into this side of the hook shank. And we're going to do it right to the point where that shank starts to drop off. So I come to the tire side of the shank, I spiral wrap, and I allow that to push the material over on top of the hook. At this point, I have a little bit more to go, and I'm going to hold it tight on top of the hook, and I'm going to take a dozen wraps right there and lock it in. At least a dozen, maybe 20. Lock that puppy right in. If you wanted to, and you forgot to dip it into Softex, you could tie the fly, and then in the end, you could dip it into Softex. Okay, so here we go with the dubbin loop. The tool that I like to work with, this tool right here was created by a very famous tire. He's not with us anymore. Cal Bird. I can work very slowly. I can change pressures, and I can back off if I need to. Once you spin it, you're locked in forever, right? It's a little tougher to kind of back off. So we're going to create a dubbing loop on the back lockdown area here. And I do that by just using, because I know Jack said he'd never done it before, but a reminder for you guys, I just use my index finger on my left hand, and I bring the thread around that, and I create a loop right here. There's a couple of ways to lock this down. One of the easiest ways to do it without moving around the shank is you can put the thread 2 times around both pieces of the dubbing loop and then pull that tight against the body. We're going to move this to half the distance that's left open right here. I take my hook, put it in here, take some of the dubbing material, put it inside, and spin it. Spin it, some extras. Alright, at this point, all I want to do is I want to dub the back half of the body. So as material starts to get onto the hook shank, I take this material and I comb it backwards with each wrap. Backwards. So everything flows to the back of the fly. One in front of the other. And then lock that thread down. out. When you pull these legs off, leave them connected top and bottom. We're going to fold and double in front of the thread and under the hook shank. And we're putting it in front of the thread, right, under the hook. We're going to pull up with tension and we're going to slightly rock backwards. When I do that, you'll notice now I could bite down, locks that material in place. Now I can let go, and if I have to, I can manipulate these. Now, I don't know if anybody has a material clip like the Renzetti clip here. If you know, I just pull it back and I just place these in the clip. For advance the thread forward and tie in the eyes. Not directly behind the eye of the hook, but just slightly behind the eye of the hook. Just tie in the plastic eyes. Now, like I say, in the book, you will notice that these were already in place before we would have done the dubbing or the legs. But I just felt like when we teach the clinic, it's easier to show the other stuff. But, all right, so once those eyes are locked in, put the thread back again, all the way to the point where we were locked over the hackle. Go back to that position. Let's advance the thread to in front of the eyes, right behind the eye of the hook. Create a dubbing loop there.
We still got all that stuff out in front.
Oh yeah, we're going to use that. After you create that dubbing loop, go ahead and put your thread back to the center. Add your dubbing material inside the dubbing loop. Create a nice buggy head, and let's fill in the rest of that gap.
Different color, the same color?
Oh, you could use the same, different, your choice. Get a little bit of color there. We'll go under the eyes, figure 8, and then we'll just wrap it up. Wrap it. You don't have to comb it backwards. After we do that, you simply want to take all of that material, pull it straight back over the top of the eyes. Then I use my index finger to make sure it's laying flat. And then I wrap tight to lock it down. And again, I'll wrap 12, 20 times right there. We want to tie off at that point. So we'll just come back at this point and we'll just tie that off. Very generous lockdown. And we go. Now, I don't necessarily put any cement on this, but a little zap-a-gap if you want. Alright, so here I go with 2 cuts, you guys. I'm going to take the antron that's on top. I'm going to make a straight cut on that. I don't taper the cut backwards. It is a straight cut. Cut it a little bit longer than the head. Pull those fibers out. I'll cut it right about here. And one more cut and we're almost out of it. Now here's where we're going to take these, the wing / leg. So the way that I measure it, I pull these back together. And I'm measuring off of the extended abdomen, the furled body, the furled abdomen. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this, right? You can see it's relaxed. I cut it just beyond the furling. It's got a beautiful look to it.